The Man Whom the Trees Loved, written by Algernon Blackwood, narrated by Tony Walker. 1. He painted trees as by some special divining instinct of their essential qualities. He understood them. He knew why in an oak forest, for instance, no individual was utterly distinct from its fellows, and why no two beeches in the world were alike. People asked him down to paint a favourite lime or silver birch, for he caught the individuality of a tree as some catch the individuality of a horse. How he managed it was something of a puzzle, for he had never had painting lessons. His drawing was often wildly inaccurate, and while his perception of a tree personality was true and vivid, his rendering of it might almost approach the ludicrous. Yet the character and personality of that particular tree stood there alive beneath his brush, shining, frowning, dreaming, as the case might be, friendly or hostile, good or evil. It emerged. There was nothing else in the wide world that he could paint. Flowers and landscapes he only muddled away into a smudge. With people, he was helpless and hopeless, also with animals. Skies he could sometimes manage, or effects of wind in foliage, but as a rule, he left these all severely alone. He kept to trees, wisely following an instinct that was guided by love. It was quite arresting, this way he had of making a tree look almost like a being, alive. It approached the uncanny. Yes, Sanderson knows what he's doing when he paints a tree, thought old David Bittacy, C.B. late of the woods and forests. Why, you can almost hear it rustle. You can smell the thing. You can hear the rain drip through its leaves. You can almost see the branches move. It grows. For in this way, somewhat, he expressed his satisfaction, half to persuade himself that the 20 guineas were well spent, since his wife thought otherwise, and half to explain this uncanny reality of life that lay in the fine old cedar framed above his study table. Yet in the general view, the mind of Mr. Bittacy was held to be austere, not to say morose. Few divined in him the secretly tenacious love of nature that had been fostered by years spent in the forests and jungles of the Eastern world. It was odd for an Englishman, due possibly to that Eurasian ancestor. Surreptitiously, as though half ashamed of it, he had kept alive a sense of beauty that hardly belonged to his type and was unusual for its vitality. Trees in particular nourished it. He also understood trees, felt a subtle sense of communion with them, born perhaps of those years he had lived in caring for them, guarding, protecting, nursing, years of solitude among their great shadowy presences. He kept it largely to himself, of course, because he knew the world he lived in. He also kept it from his wife, to some extent. He knew it came between them, knew that she feared it, was opposed. But what he did not know, or realize at any rate, was the extent to which she grasped the power which they wielded over his life. Her fear, he judged, was simply due to those years in India, when for weeks at a time his calling took him away from her into the jungle forests, while she remained at home, dreading all manner of evils that might befall him. This, of course, explained her instinctive opposition to the passion for woods that still influenced and clung to him. It was a natural survival of those anxious days of waiting in solitude for his safe return. For Mrs. Bittacy, daughter of an evangelical clergyman, was a self-sacrificing woman, who in most things found a happy duty in sharing her husband's joys and sorrows to the point of self-obliteration. Only in this matter of the trees she was less successful than in the others. It remained a problem difficult of compromise. He knew, for instance, that what she objected to in this portrait of the cedar on their lawn was really not the price he had given for it, but the unpleasant way in which the transaction emphasized this breach between their common interests, the only one they had, but deep. Sanderson, the artist, earned little enough money by his strange talent. Such checks were few and far between. The owners of fine or interesting trees who cared to have them painted singly were rare indeed, and the studies that he made for his own delight
Sample complete. Ready to continue?